Good afternoon. Welcome to the forecast discussion for January 31st, 2014. It's currently 1:52 p.m. and we are finally above freezing. Well above freezing by about 10 degrees in some places. We have upper 30s to lower 40s along the coast, lower to mid 30s just north and west of the coast, and upper 20s to lower 30s over the northern interior. So we're starting to warm up here. We have some, you can clearly see where the majority of the snowpack is, where it's deepest, as temperatures are slow to warm up in these locations. And we do have a few isolated flurries and sleet pellets out there as the warm air is invading, but most locations are dry with variable to scattered cloud cover as our southwesterly wind takes hold. We are entering a nice little break, and then we enter right back into a very interesting pattern. Now, I want to make this very, very clear before we go forward. If you're going to hug a model, you're going to have problems. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again. If you're going to hug model guidance and go with whatever the GFS or the European or even the Canadian model guidance is going verbatim, you're going to have a lot of changes to your forecast because each run shows a different solution. Now, premium members know why that's the case, but let me just put it to you like this. There are a lot of players on the field. They're all interacting and bumping into each other, and that's creating a whole lot of chaos, and as a result, you end up with a whole lot of different solutions. Kind of par for the course when you have a split type pattern like this. So we have to watch out and see exactly how this whole pattern evolves. And you have to go with the basics of what this pattern is all about. And what this pattern is all about is an interaction of tropical moisture from the Pacific and Arctic air from Canada. And that's the bottom line. Now the question is, how do they interact? And with each storm, we have a little bit of twist, and you're going to have to be on your game and really watch how these disturbances start to interact, because Monday is a perfect example where the models really aren't catching on to the disturbance until just about 48 to 60 hours out. And now we're starting to see what could be for Monday as a minor to moderate snowfall event. But it's important to recognize that the fact that the models had nothing on this at all. But if you watch the water vapor satellite picture, you can see, hey, we better watch out for Monday, better watch out for Wednesday, better watch out for Friday and Saturday, because, well, more Saturday, because depending on how these disturbances interact, you can end up with a heavy rainfall event, let's say for Saturday, or a very heavy snowfall event. So let's dive into this and really break this down. Okay, so here's the radar right now. You can see that warm air is advancing, and that's what's pretty much causing some of this precipitation. Again, for the most part, it's not reaching the ground, but you might run into a few flurries here in northeastern Pennsylvania as that warm air advances northward. Not a big deal, not a major threat or anything, just more of a pain in the neck. Other than that, it's pretty much dry out there. It's rather tranquil. On the infrared satellite picture, you can see our southwesterly flow developing nicely. Here's our old Arctic boundary. Here's a very old polar boundary. And then here's our next cold front that will move through by Sunday. Now notice, see how this is stationary? Basically the whole pattern's kind of reloading right now. So this storm right here is going to lift up towards the Great Lakes, producing a rather impressive snowfall event over the upper Midwest here and portions of the Great Lakes, but will only produce a few scattered showers for us on Sunday. So Sunday is looking rather nice. If you have plans to go out to the Super Bowl or go hang around the Super Bowl, I don't know, it's like $1,000 just to get in at the highest level seat. Personally, I'll just stay home and watch on my TV. Thank you very much. But if you are going out there, not that bad. Bring a heavy coat with you. You won't really have to deal with too much precipitation. It'll be drying out. Could be a few flurries at the start of the game, but that's about it. Temperatures falling through the 30s. Not bad at all for early February. Now, on the water vapor satellite picture, this tells us so much if you understand what's happening with the pattern. We have two distinct jet stream patterns. Our subtropical jet stream and our polar jet stream. Our polar jet stream is amping up storms to the south of the Aleutian Islands. That pumps up the ridge and sends the Arctic air south. Here's our polar vortex realigning itself, redeveloping, and setting up right around southeastern Canada. While it's reloading, we're going to have a break in our weather pattern, which means we'll have temperatures rebounding very nicely for this upcoming weekend. For example, tomorrow, lower to mid 40s for highs. Sunday, mid to upper 40s for highs along the coast. Low temperatures in the lower to mid 30s over the interior, mid to upper 30s along the coast. It's going to be the NFL really lucked out here on Sunday. Unfortunately, the cold air comes back with this disturbance right here, and with this disturbance that we have to watch here. You see, what's going to happen is that this cold front's going to drop south on Sunday night, bring the cold air, and you're definitely going to feel out the game with temperatures falling through the 30s and into the 20s. By the time we get to Monday morning, we'll be in the upper 20s to lower 30s. And that's when this disturbance starts to ride along this boundary, which should be right around Virginia, and with it, taking a lot of moisture. Now, this disturbance is pretty impressive here. You can tell that because see this black here? This is sinking air. There has to be a balance. So if you have sinking air, then you have to have an equally strong rising motion. So we know that this disturbance is rather amped. So with that being the case, it's able to pull up some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and could produce a nice little light to moderate band of snow on Monday morning into early Monday afternoon, especially over the Philadelphia metropolitan area. Kind of zoning in on southeastern Pennsylvania, central and southern New Jersey, the southern shores of Long Island. I think that's where you'll have the potential of getting that 2 to 4, 3 to 6 type snowfall. Now, this isn't a major storm, but it's a warning shot. It's a warning sign that the models don't really have a really good handle on this pattern. And if it's not able to pick up this weak disturbance and not able to correctly adjust for the thermal gradient that's set up over the eastern United States, then you have to question what the models are doing for Wednesday and for Saturday. So when you take that into account, this is why you can't hug models. Look at what's in front of us here and understand what the threat is. What the threat is that you have a polar vortex locked in over southeast Canada. Starting to get some blocking here over the Atlantic. You get, see right here, you're starting to get higher above normal heights here. That is a pseudo negative NAO pattern here. Then you have your ridge over the west coast, so that means cold air. There's going to be plenty of cold air. And you have your active subtropical jet stream. And then how these disturbances interact with each other. This one here, this one there, this one up here, this one over here, this one over here. How they interact with each other determines what type of storm you're going to get. And that's why you really have to wait 48 hours out, really, to get a really good handle on these storms. That's why it's so complicated. That's why it's not that I don't know what I'm doing. There's a reason why I'm not putting out snow maps and model snow maps. It's because you can't trust them. One model run, you get 48 inches of snow. The next model run, you get 2 inches of rain. That tells you there's a lot of volatility, and this is why. So we're going to use the Canadian model guidance here just for illustration purposes, kind of give you an idea of where we're heading here. So again, for tonight, scattered cloud cover, not too bad. Temperatures falling into the upper 20s to lower 30s for lows by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, rebound very nicely, scattered cloud cover. Beautiful day tomorrow. Temperatures in the lower to mid 40s. Go out there, enjoy it. Go to Manhattan, enjoy all the festivities around there. Now Sunday, our cold front's approaching. Look for scattered showers. Nothing, not a washout. A bit of a pain in the neck, Sunday afternoon. Now Sunday evening, again, during the Super Bowl, I think most locations will be dry. See all this dry air over here? You could see a few passing showers, but nothing that's going to have a significant impact on the game. Temperatures on Sunday ahead of the cold front will be in the mid to upper 40s, and then they'll fall through the 40s and 30s throughout the game, with wind shifting to the northwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Not a big deal, though. So anyone who loses the game, you cannot blame the weather. Okay, it's February. This is beautiful for February. So, yeah, I would say that if you're in Seattle or Denver, you could see far worse weather than what you're going to see here at the Meadowlands on Sunday. So here we are on Monday. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Here's our disturbance that is currently, this is where the disturbance is now. Now with the Canadian model guidance does is that it interacts with this polar disturbance just at the right time, pulls up enough moisture here, and then by the time we get to Monday morning here, we have a nice band of precipitation moving through the region. It's going to be cold enough for snow. Now, the boundary layer is going to probably be around 30 to 34. So it's not going to be what you've been experiencing with that, really light, fluffy stuff that is able to accumulate a great deal where you get like 10 inches out of a tenth of an inch of precipitation. This is a traditional 10 to 1 ratio. Very easy. Looking at 2 to 4, 3 to 6. I tap it off at 6 inches max in this scenario. Okay. Now again, I'm not ready to put out a snow map yet because again, what I was talking about, we have to really nail down exactly how these disturbances interact. But you gotta see the potential here. You have cold air in place. You get your steady precipitation. I think the target zone here clearly is from southern Long Island, central New Jersey, say Monmouth County, Mercer County, southeastern Pennsylvania, on south. Is the best potential of seeing some accumulating snowfall. So we'll watch out for that. And if that sets up, then that adjusts the whole thermal gradient because you have a fresh snowpack in place. Now, Tuesday is going to be pretty quiet. I'm looking for mid to upper 30s for highs. Notice that high pressure system's in control here. Pretty nice overall. But notice what we have here with the storm. Now, the polar vortex is set up here in Quebec. This disturbance cannot run into this upper level low. That's why you have a jump towards the coast. The problem is you have Arctic air streaming right down the coast. See how this is bent here? This is what's called a CADE, cold air damming. So you have cold air damming down the Appalachians. That includes us. And then you have warm air moisture surging northward. Eventually, the coast will change over to rain. The question is, how fast? So you're going to have snow starting off for everybody, accumulating snow on late Tuesday night, changing over to sleet and freezing rain. Now, there is where we're going to be in a bit of trouble here on Wednesday morning because definitely in the interior, this is going to be a problem, okay? Just north and west of the cities, prolonged period of sleet and freezing rain, I think, is a high threat here. Along the coast, it's going to be a little tenuous to see how fast we change over to rain, but eventually you will. So let's say by Wednesday morning, as that low pressure system is jumping towards the coast, you finally change over to rain. Again, timing is going to be really, really key, determining who gets how much ice, who gets how much snow, who gets how much rain. Let's all hope, considering the ice, that southeasterly wind is really strong and we break up to like 36 degrees on Wednesday morning, so we don't deal with a lot of ice here. But we've dealt with this situation before back in December. If you remember, the models kept on saying, oh, it's going to get warm, going to get warm. And then that cold air really hung on. And we're dealing with the same scenario here. And this high pressure system is not giving away very quickly. It's going to be locked in right over Quebec. I mean, look where this is locked in here. So you have cold air source and you still have that damming signatures right here. So it's going to be something they're really going to have to watch out for. Northeastern Pennsylvania, I got some of my followers up there. This storm is for you. You're going to get plenty of snow out of this scenario if it transpires. So you see that this low pressure system hasn't jumped to the coast. Any model guidance that says that this low pressure system is going to track up into the St. Lawrence River Valley and everyone goes to rain, ball it up, throw it out. It's physically impossible because you have this polar vortex up here in Quebec. So now we've kind of nailed that down. That storm exits out. We have cold air in place. And then for the end of the week, tranquil, high pressure in control. Temperatures in the upper 20s to lower 30s for highs. It's cold. It's about 10 degrees below normal, but we could deal with it better than 19. Then we have our next storm to deal with. Let me be very, very, very blunt here. We need to see exactly how these disturbances, how intense they are. This right here does not mean we can't have a winter storm because, again, the pattern is split. This signature right here is showing up because the model guidance is really amplifying this upper level low. I'm not convinced that it's going to be that strong just yet, but we have to wait and see. The stronger this upper level low is, the more this ridge builds up. But it can only build up so far because we have our polar vortex locked up here in Canada. and you have plenty of high pressure. So you have plenty of cold air in place. This right here smells like an error. So my suggestion is to wait and don't jump into conclusions yet. We have a hard time forecasting with this pattern 3 days out. So if you're going to trust a model guidance 10 days out, that's a bit of a stretch. So I have to see exactly how strong this disturbance is, the polar vortex, and the pattern over with the polar jet stream with a large ridge around Alaska is going to negate this southeast ridge influence. So what you end up with is a very strong thermal gradient from the mid-Atlantic back down towards the plains. So this is not a traditional nor'easter type pattern. This is what's called an isotropic lifting pattern, where you get cold air interacting with warm air, and you get these disturbances lifting up north and east and heading right towards the mid-Atlantic. This is the type of pattern that we saw back in 94, okay? February 94, where you had this ridge over the southeast, you had your cold air locked in over the northern tier, and storms constantly lifting up from the southern plains and heading towards the mid-Atlantic. They aren't the type of storms that produce nor'easters, but they are the type of storms that can produce long-term snowfall. Storms that could last more than 24 hours with light to moderate snow and then heavy bursts here and there. So this is a type of pattern that we really have to be cautious of and don't jump to conclusions. So moving forward, by the time we get to this upcoming weekend, this storm could be pretty significant, but we have to wait for the details. We have to see how these other disturbances work out to iron out this pattern. Well, that is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen D. Martino. Follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpa weather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay safe out there.